Awesome. What's going on, AO? It's your mentor session with Edwin Deras, and I'm going to go ahead and get started here. Let me see here. So, the first question number one that we have for today is from Law Jackson. His question that he asked for today is I could use some help staying on course while I build up more revenue. What are some affordable ways to stay accountable with my sales and process and implementation? Thanks to 8 months of mentorship, I have a basic sales process, a short list of vendors, and a project manager in training. I thought sales was my biggest problem. Then I thought it was limited capacity. Now I know it's my poor system of processes. I'm figuring out my process from sales through to production. It's not perfect, but it works. The real pain is removing myself from the different stages and still getting quality results. You remember that I'm transitioning away from freelancer mode. It's still pretty much just me. I have a loose plan with 100 little things to do each week. What are some ways to implement process, improve my ability to delegate and develop sales? Do you think an accountability group will help? Elevator pitch. Kinetic text makes brands memorable with animation and motion graphics. All right, awesome. So thanks for the question, Law. I would just say to start, there's a couple of things here. So first, you said a couple of ways to keep you accountable, right, with sales and the process implementation. So I think there's different ranges of accountable, right? There's free, and then there's like $500, 1,000, and then maybe up from there. I would say if you were gonna say invest in something in sales, I would definitely highly recommend Tom Black, a mentor in the group. He mentors me, and I feel like he's given me a lot of help with different things related to sales processes. Working with my team. A lot of times I'm stubborn. I don't apply everything that he goes over with me, but he does teach me a lot of great things that I've applied and that do work for me. So I would definitely recommend Tom Black if you're not already working with him. Number two, I would just say mainly if you want to go things with that are free. I feel like free is always great. Also, well, almost free. Let's say like for example, books. So like you can look at Tom wrote a book. Peter Cosdoy wrote a book. There's a lot of people that have written a lot of different books on sales. There's people that have written books on processes, how to run a meeting, how to lead a company, how to lead yourself. How to lead a lot of different aspects of what you are doing on a day-to-day basis. So whenever I'm feeling frustrated, I try to turn on the Audible book and I try to listen to that, and that guides me through rough moments and moments that I feel like what's going on. I'm doing too much. I'm not delegating enough things, and I feel like just constantly making it a habit to listen to something 15 to 30 minutes every single day. That will take you a long way in order to be able to improve your sales and improve your implementation. Another thing that I noticed on what you said here, you said I have a loose plan with 100 things to do each week. Um, so I know you said you're transitioning from freelance mode, right? So I would just say it can be tough to do a lot of things on your own. I would find a way, look to find a way where you can hire someone to help you out, even if it's a few hours a week, even if it's 2 hours a week, even if it's 3, 5, 10, 20, 30, 40, but whatever it was in your budget. I know, for example, you can definitely hire top quality people between $10 to $20 an hour here in the US. Sometimes a lot of people want to hire someone outside of the US because they say it's cheaper, but at the same time, it's sometimes they just don't get, the cultural lingo and a lot of these other things. Sometimes they do. It just depends. And I think there's some mentors here that help with that. I know different mentors here work with that. But me personally, I've had both. I have VAs outside of the US. I have US based VAs, and a US based VA that speaks perfect English and that can has a phone to call and make calls for you and to solve problems for you. I feel like that is something that maybe you would benefit greatly, because I know that's something that I was able to implement in my business, and I feel like it just made my life so much easier, so much easier. Someone that can just figure that shit out. You know, I don't tell her figure that shit out, but I say, can you solve this for me? And then they solve it for me, and I don't have to be the one to doing it. And there's still things that I shouldn't be doing myself, but over time that stuff gets delegated out also. And then you also said What are some ways to implement process, improve my ability to delegate, and develop sales? So I would just say that these are kind of basically three different things that you're always going to be improving over time. If you think about it, like how to implement processes, that's kind of like if you think of it like a chief operations officer or someone that's implementing for you all the time. So that will be something that and if it's your one main employee, that's you at the beginning, right? So that's one thing. It's like one subject right there, and that's something that you're always going to be wanting to improve upon as you go on at all times, right? And then number two, will my improve my ability to delegate. I mean, I feel like everybody. I think almost everybody. I think everybody has that issue. Whether you're just getting started out and you're just starting your business, or if you're Mark Zuckerberg, or if you're Jeff Bezos. I mean, think about it. Jeff Bezos, he has Amazon, but then he also has some spaceship company, and then he has like other things. And if you look at Elon Musk, he has his car company, he has a spaceship thing going, and then he has a bunch of different ideas going on at the same time. And then and then yourself, I'm pretty sure you got different clients and different projects going on, and this and that, and then I have to do this, I have to do 100 things. So it's an issue that it's always going to be in the background. I think the key for solving ability to delegate is just continuing to educate yourself. I feel like that's the key, and seeing what people that are, let's say, in your industry are doing that you can model. Let's say someone that is like you, but let's say someone what is someone 10 times bigger than yourself doing? What is someone 100 times bigger than themselves doing? They're not doing, then maybe they're doing 100 things, or maybe they're doing like 20 things of the most important things that they need to do, right? So it's all about modeling what the best people are doing, and then seeing what you can learn from that, and then kind of rinsing and repeating and taking the next step to the next level and taking the next step to the next level, right? And so I think I would just say that about that. And then developing sales. I mean, I would just ask you different questions about that. I would just say, so if you want to develop sales, how are you developing sales right now? Right? So, are you the person that needs to be developing the sales? Are you a really great salesperson? Maybe you can develop a lot of the sales and then have somebody else do the technical work. Or is it vice versa? Maybe you need to hire someone that is great at sales and then you do the technical work, or just do a mix of the two. And so developing sales, like I said before, I would just look at hiring an expert that knows how to build up sales teams like Tom Black. Or if you're like, you know what, I'm not gonna go that route right now, I would definitely just look deep diving into different books and audible books, and just doing that stuff, like practicing role play. One of the things that I do on this call, in my jewelry stores, is I role play a lot. I love to role play because it's one thing I would always notice when I would teach my staff. I would be like, all right, we got to say this, we got to say that, we got to do this. And then I'd be like, I change the subject, and then I come back and I'd be like, all right, let's do what we talked about like 20 minutes ago. And they wouldn't know. And so, like, ever since I would figure that out, I always want to role play in order so that it sticks, because then I have them role play, and then they actually test it, and then it sticks with them, and then they're like, okay, we just talked about it, then they forgot, but then once we role play it through, then it actually sticks. So right now, if it's just you, let's just say your team is just you, then you want to my role play with yourself. What are the common objections that you have? That type of stuff, and then just go deeper and deeper into that type of stuff, and then combine that with talking to Tom Black, and then other people like such as that are experts at sales and stuff like that. And then I think that was the last question. Oh, and you said, do you think an accountability group will help? I think, sure. I think an accountability group will help. I also think that you should look at the people that are in the accountability group. Are they people that are doing what you're doing? Are they all freelancers like yourself? Or you might want to surround yourself with people that, let's say, for example, like Sean Thomas, all the mentors in this group. You might want to surround yourself with people that will maybe in your industry, maybe a little level higher than where you are, right? That way they can teach you something that you will be like, oh, okay, that makes sense, or this makes sense. Oh, I didn't know that. But let's say, so accountability group will help. And I think it also, it's a great if you can surround with people that, are going in a similar direction and have kind of similar goals that you're wanting to go to. So I would just say that about an accountability group. All right, so number 2 is Bob Gagir. He asked, How do you know when to call it quits on a business idea? Over the past decade, I've launched 5 or 6 businesses, set up e-commerce sites, obtained sales, and stopped when I didn't believe I could turn a profit. Now, with my current venture, I'm in the same spot and I'm not sure if I should push forward or switch gears to one of my other entrepreneurial ideas. Elevator pitch. Over the past 2 years, developed a skincare massage product, and I'm looking to build a brand and company around it. So I did email Bob, just I get a little clarification on a couple of things. Just I wanted to see how big his businesses were. I asked him if he had outside funding. These were all self-funded businesses. I asked him if they were profitable. Asked him how big the losses were, and I also asked him if he's working part-time or full-time. So just based on the questions, to answer your main question that you asked me, basically you said, how do you know when to call it quits on a business idea? I feel like there's a lot of factors involved, and I feel like some of the things you told me make sense. So, like, let's say, like any business, like for example, like one of the things I'm always looking at myself in my own business, I always want to know how much money I'm making, how much money, how much is my business is growing. I also want to know what areas of my business are growing the most, right? So in my business, I offer various services. I do financial services, which I do payroll check cashing. I do money transfers. I also do in-store jewelry sales. I do e-commerce sales as well. So before I got into e-commerce, one of my biggest growth area in my business was what's it called? Financial services. That was growing. Let's say if it was let's say different departments had grown in my business, that area group was growing like 40% per year. And let's say like the money transfer side of it was growing like 5%. And then the jewelry was growing like 20%. So at one point I decided to focus on the best areas that was growing. So it was let's say the financial services. So basically I always want to measure that part. So like as far as what you're asking, you're saying how to know when it's calling quits, and if you're self-funding the venture, that kind of sucks, right? It's like, damn, like you're just putting a bunch of money into a business. And so one of the things that I see a lot of the mentors mention, which is like it's nice to be able to get experience in that industry before you get into it, right? So I think that's good. That's good advice always. So so going to your question, how do you know when to call it because it's an idea? I think it all depends on you. Number one, do you have the capital to actually continue to go through it, right? I think that's number one. Do you have the capital? If you project out 6 months out, a year out, 2 years out, and you're gonna lose $500,000, can you withstand that much loss, right? For example, or let's say if you project out, okay, but in 2 years I'll lose 20,000, but then year 3 I'm only gonna lose 5, and then year 4 I'm gonna make 50,000. You see what I'm saying? So it's all about looking at your numbers and projecting out what it is that you think that you can do. So the projections of your numbers, I think, is important. Number one, just projecting out, because I remember like year 1 in my company, I had a bunch of revenue, and I didn't know. I just thought like I was open 2 stores, I opened a 3rd store, and I didn't really know my numbers. It wasn't until like about the 1 year anniversary when I was like, all right, let me sit down and look at what my numbers are. And so once I did that, I was like, sheesh, I'm like breaking even. This store is losing money. This store is losing money. This store is breaking even. And that's when I finally realized I was like, you know what? I have to know my numbers. And ever since then, I always make the effort just to manually do my numbers so I know how much I'm making at all times, right? So number one, I would just say, number one, you want to take a look at your projections and see if that's something that you're gonna be able to last through it all, right? That's what I would say. I'll be able, if you can last through the cash flow part of it, especially if you're self-funding it, right? And from the questions that I asked you, you said that you have another job on the side that I'm assuming that's what's allowing you to sustain this business. And then getting into that point right there. So I mean, there's different ways of doing things. I think that every individual has a different way of doing things. And like what I would say about a business, I think that there are people that can work a business part-time and be successful. For example, like in high school and college, like I wasn't able to have a job through college because my grades would have suffered. So I feel like I had to focus only on school in order to be successful. But then there were other people that had jobs and they were like having better grades than I was, and or maybe people that didn't study for a test and they got A's, and I was a person that I had to study really hard to get an A and all that stuff. So you see what I'm saying? So what I would say is that you got to see what type of personality are you. Are you someone that can have a job and then part-time build up a business, or are you somebody that needs to focus full-time on something in order to have success? So that's something that you want to ask yourself. Can you build a business part-time, or do you have to do full-time? Now, I wouldn't recommend just jumping into something full-time if you don't have the income to support it. If you don't, you might want to build up a base in order to do something full-time first. So you might have to look at your projections financially in order to do that. So let me see here. Was I gonna add anything else here? Yeah, that's basically what I was gonna add for that. So that's it for that question. The next question is from Mary. Mary Rantakalio. How do I determine how to pay someone to do? How do I determine how to pay someone to do work for me? Okay, the background of the question. I have therapy. I have a therapy machine for horses, and sorry, I stapled over the words. And now I found a person to hire it. What would be the best salary alternative? An hourly or paid treatment. One treatment is 30 minutes. And minimum charge is $50. A person knows a lot of people and is located in a training center for horses, and there is demand right away. I'm a veterinarian, currently working with small animals as a contractor. Permanent resident sponsoring process ongoing. And so I just asked them a couple questions about the machines. I wanted to know basically, does this person that's going to use a machine, do they need to have any type of degrees and certificates? And he told me that they do not need to have any type of trainings or certificates. And he was able to use the machine by getting an online education portal when he purchased the machine. So I love this question because I feel like we always everybody that eventually hires someone has this question: how much do I hire? How much do I pay this person? Right? And I think it's different. It's different across every industry, and it's different across every state and every country. Right? So what I would say as far as this, number one, I would look at the market rate. Is there a market rate for this type of job in your area? So is there people is this type of job, is nobody going to get hired for less than a certain amount of pay, for example? Number two, what I liked about what you answered about the question about not needing certificates is that practically, so I don't know how much in demand, how busy this person is going to be. What's the anticipated demand that this person is going to have? Are they going to be busy 24/7? Are they going to be busy 50 hours a week, 60 hours a week, 10 hours a week, 5 hours a week, 2 hours a week? How busy is this person going to be? I mean, I'm sure if you're just starting it, it's not going to be that busy. Is there other things that this person can do, right? And so that's my question. I would also ask is just how busy is this person going to be? Because if they're going to be not that busy, then you might need to just pay them a decent amount, so at least they can stay with you in the long term. Because if you pay them, I don't know, what a low wage, they're like, forget this. I'm only getting 2 hours a week. I'm going to do something else. Or maybe it depends on the person you're hiring too, right? How much time are they looking to work? And so that brings up the other point about what you said about you don't need somebody to be so what's it called? They don't need to have the degrees, or they just need to maybe get a training or something like that. So maybe you could hire somebody that's not looking for that many hours. So it just depends. I think hiring a person that can be with there as you grow and get more clients and get more volume, I think would be great. And so I feel like this is something that a position that you can get anybody for. I don't know how busy the area, how populated the area is that you are is, but if the person doesn't need a certification, I feel like you can just get somebody that's very nice and very friendly and maybe loves animals and horses. I feel like if you get someone very friendly that likes to talk to people, that would be a great person to hire, because that would just be somebody that can connect with your customers, and give you more ideas and stuff like that. I know you mentioned about this person you mentioned something about this person knowing a lot of people in the area. Let me see. Currently working with small permanent. I think you mentioned that somewhere, that the person knows a lot of people in the area. But that's a good that the person knows a lot of people in the area. I would also say that your marketing in the future can also create that demand, and having a nice personality in your business can also attract more clients, right? So I feel like it's finding the balance between the two. So, about the charge, I feel like you get to try, you get to test out the charge. I don't think it should be set in stone what this person needs to make, but at the same time, you also, if they're not going to have that much work, you might want to pay them a little bit higher. That way they don't just, you don't have somebody that's not working any hours and you're paying them very little. They're driving 20 minutes to you and then driving 20 minutes back home for one session. You got to see what will work out for that person, what their needs are too, right? Maybe they don't care about all that stuff. All right, and then the last question is, Brandon Phillips, what type of advertising should we start when we are selling directly to homeowners? My name is Brandon. I own a small two-man HVAC company. I'm an active member in BNI and rely solely on word-of-mouth referrals for new business. We are grateful for the work received, but also ready to grow this business and take it to the next level. At this point, we could easily handle more work. After 16 months in business, I'll admit every dollar counts. Any feedback or advice on how we should approach advertising is very much appreciated. Thanks. Brandon Phillips, Fix It Boys Heating and Cooling. Okay, perfect. So, Brandon, so I'm glad for this question. I feel like this is something that is on everybody's mind. You know, what type of advertising should we start when selling directly to homeowners? I feel like we all want to know what's the type of advertising that will get us the most customers at the cheapest price, right? You know, if you've seen a lot of the mentors will say Sean Thomas is tested Facebook ads, and then everybody that has a business would like to, besides word of mouth marketing, they want to test something that works, right? So, what I'll ask you, I know if you've been in business 16 months, I know that in order to be in business for 16 months, that you guys needed to have promoted at one time or another in order to get your first client, because right, eventually the first customer didn't come from word of mouth. It probably came from you going out and talking door to door, or maybe, I don't know, did you work at another company? So I would just look at the things that what have you done previously that you might think like everything's word of mouth, but at some point or another, you guys did some sort of marketing, I would think. So I would look at doing some of that stuff and doing even more of that. If it's worked once, I would look at doing it even more. Like one example for me is like one of the things that I found in my stores that we're in, one of the things that works really well for us is handing out business cards and talking to people and just being like, hey, by the way, we also offer this and this and this service, and we're located here inside your local grocery store. So, and then people will be like, oh, really? Wow. Okay, great. Yes, definitely. I live right around the corner. I live a couple miles from here. Oh, I didn't even know you guys were here. I didn't know you guys offered that service. So I feel like a lot of times just being able to talk to somebody and let them know about your service is something great. And I know, a lot of times the doing things on Facebook and stuff like that. And I actually looked at your you had good Google reviews on Google. So like just pointing into that, but like if people can put a face to a company name, I think people respect that and people still respond to that type of stuff. And so maybe that's something that you guys might want to look at. Handing out business cards, maybe doing sending out mailers in the mail. Or, I mean, also you can go different routes and check with the people that know about social media marketing and stuff like that and be able to reach customers that way. So I think that's something that I would definitely recommend. I would also recommend, another question I would recommend is just looking at who's handling the sales right now. You said it's you and one other person. So like, is it you? Who's the better person between the two of you that are handling the sales calls? And I would probably look to shift the incoming calls to the best salesperson. Maybe if it's just two, let's say like you're the best salesperson, but the other person's receiving 80% of the calls. Maybe you might want to make a switch there to the best salesperson. And then are you handling how much percent of the service calls are you doing? Maybe if you're the best salesperson, maybe another person needs to do it or something like that. So I would just look into that. And then finally, I would just also look at the because you're looking to increase your sales. I will also ask you what type of upsells are you doing in your current visits. They might be calling you to do, I don't know, change the furniture or something like that. But maybe they might have like maybe you guys have a yearly plan that you can service them for a yearly plan versus you're just doing a one-time sale. What if you have an upsell or something like that along the way? Or when they first call, it's just a diagnostic check, and then when you get there, you're able to at least offer some additional services. So maybe just offering additional services can get you some additional sales to the same customer, because that's something that we work on in our businesses. We also, if a customer comes to sell, like for example, they come to do a financial transaction, we're going to offer them, oh, by the way, we also offer this other service whenever you want to do that, because they're already there. And so a lot of times they'll be like, oh, great. Or they'll say, oh, great. I don't use that service, but maybe my friend does. So I'm going to tell them about that. Or I don't use that service, but my son does, or something like that. So you can always offer additional services to your customers at the point of when you visit them, and just say, hey, by the way, whenever you need, we also offer this service whenever you need it, and also this. And then and just by then, they'd be like, oh, we do need that type of service, or we do need that type of service, type of thing. So I would just look at that, and then I think that's the main thing I was gonna say about that one. All right, that's all for now, guys. Appreciate it. Oh, and then one more thing, Brandon, I would also reach out to Nick. He's doing 1.7 million in HVAC, so he probably knows a lot about the HVAC business more than myself. But I would definitely reach out to him and a couple other guys in the group that know a lot about this type of business. So thank you, guys. I'm looking here at the comments. I appreciate it. Nick, Mary, appreciate it, guys. Caleb, appreciate it. Michelle, thank you, guys. Have a great night. Have a good one.